to me, as a wrestling fan and as a wrestler, I've seen No Holds Barred maybe 20 or 30 times from the time I was a kid. So you are like a superstar to somebody like me that grew up watching that movie.
Well, that is amazing to see No Holds Barred 30 times. That's the definition of a super fan.
Well, and I also interviewed Zeus, Tommy or Tiny Lister, before he passed away.
Yeah,
and you worked with him. I know that.
I did. I liked him a lot. He was a good guy. He was funny. He was a real gentle giant, and loved by a lot of people.
That was actually the WWE's very first movie that I think Vince McMahon helped fund. Now they have a whole WWE Films division. I know the movie was a success at the time. Did the wrestlers treat you all right on the set? Because sometimes wrestlers tend to treat actors as outsiders.
Yeah. Well, I felt like an outsider, but that was my own feeling. I have to say, Hulk was actually fantastic. And we spent a lot of time, just downtime. There's a lot of downtime when you're shooting, just shooting the breeze and just talking about life and about investing and how he makes money in the WWF. I found it all very interesting. And then when the other wrestlers would come on, I was, I found them. They were all, I have to say, very nice to me because, I was very low key, and also they liked that I was playing the heel. They would always say, "You're a good heel. You're a good heel." So I guess the fact that I was a heel was a good thing for them.
You are a good heel, and you play heel in most of your movies. And a heel is a bad guy, right?
Yeah, it was a good living.
Now, I understand you also appeared at a WWE event as that Brel character. How was that experience?
Okay, that was one of the weirdest, for me, one of the weirdest experiences of my life, because at that time, I don't know how they do it now, but they were so casual about it. They flew me in to Stamford. They had sort of a film premiere at a movie theater in Stamford. And then when people were coming out, they had Mean Gene Okerlund there, and they just said, go up to Gene and tell him how much you hated the movie because Rip won. I said, well, do you have any lines for me? Anything you want me to say? No, you can do it. Do it. So I was, this was one of my first jobs. I was in over my head already. And I just went up there and just started acting like Super Brel and just yelling, the Rip won. Juice won. Zeus won. Rip, this is a lie. The fix is in. This is horrible. Then there was a sweet little kid walking out of the theater, and they said, this kid didn't know what was going on. He was just there with his dad. They said, go steal that cookie from that kid and yell at him. I said, does he know I'm coming? They go, no, it'll be fine. I think I made him cry. I went up to him later after, and I said, Jesus, that was just, they were just crazy, these guys. I'd never done anything like it. And it's amazing that these wrestlers do that all the time. It's amazing, I don't think everything, I think they all sort of have an idea. They all sort of know their storylines, but I think then they sort of improvise around it, and it's pretty amazing how good they are.
Well, I hope they bring you back for a manager before it's too late. Just
before I die. Yeah, I know. Really, they could kill me on. They could do a pie. They could find a way to off me. I'm sure.
For No Holds Barred, how did you end up getting the audition for that one?
Peter, I was just going over to Peter. Now I'm with Gloria. They have Danny Trejo and Emilio from Mayans. But Peter handled me for 30 years of my career. I've been in business about 35 years. So I was going to him, and they gave me little notes. So when I was training, I was only 282. And then I got on the stuff and got jacked up to about 310. They never seen nobody body trip the way my body tripped. My body went crazy when I got on the stuff. But when I went in as Zeus. I went bare chested, pumped up. I was doing my push-ups in the bathroom, baby oiled up. I had a Z joint in my head and I walked in with the boots. I had the boots already made. I went to Chambers. Chambers is the #1 shoe store in LA that makes everybody stuff, all the celebrities. So Chambers made the Zeus shoes, and Vince kept the ones they made and implemented in the film. But y'all walked in as Zeus, so everybody was auditioning. All these black guys was auditioning. I even heard there was even auditioning white guys at the beginning. But you know, this is what I learned about life. 2 white guys fighting or 2 black guys fighting don't make no money. A big white guy and a big black guy. You see what happened with Mayweather and McGregor? See how much money both of them made? We live in a very crazy country.
Did you know much about wrestling before that?
Didn't know a damn thing about it. Yeah, I remember this. Vince McMahon is the best at negotiating too. So Vince, let me tell you what Vince did. I only had $350 in the bank. But I didn't want to touch no dude. I don't want no dudes to be sexual harassing me, man, grabbing me underneath my crotch and stuff. Vince puts the money in the bank account. You know how hard it is to take money out the account, out of your bank account. I had to pay rent. My house note was $1630, y'all. I had a 4-bedroom house with a jacuzzi. And I was in college. You couldn't tell me that. I had 2 bed. I was happy. And Vince, but my payment was coming up. And so Vince put $65,000 or $75,000 in my account. And then called me on a 3-way with my agent that handles Hulk Hogan too at that time, Peter Young. He said, man, well, you want to do this for me? I ain't doing I ain't touching no dudes, man. What you talking about? He said, we got to pull that $75,000 out the account and give it back to me. Shit, what do you want me to sexual harass? Let's go, man. It's like, he's the greatest negotiator, the greatest businessman I've ever met. He really knew how to sell a product.
Was it always understood then that you were going to have some matches after the movie was over?
We was just doing a movie. We was doing a movie, so he used the matches to promote the movie. He actually make sure we call it Hollywood have legs.
Yeah.
Stay in the cinemas longer, you know.
Yeah.
So he used the matches because he put the $10 million up to do the film.
Right.
And I think the movie made $100 million.
And you ended up being the No Holds Barred movie. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, I guess they had a part there, and it was Vince's and Hogan's movie, and they asked if I wanted to be in that, have a part in the movie. Yeah, I'd never done a movie. I was really happy to do. It was fun. And had a couple of, I guess, classic line everybody talks about is the line that I give in the bathroom or something, with I grab these 2 guys, but it was a lot of fun. I wish I'd pursued that a little bit more now, at an older age. I think I could have done some characters in movies, but
that was actually I liked that movie a lot, actually. And you did a great job in it. And was there any talk?
Hogan too, Yeah. I mean, it was a good movie. I mean, it was. I always tell this story. We went to the matinee theater. I took all my family. My little daughter was about 10 or I don't know, maybe a little older, 12 years old, and we're watching the scene, and I'm the bad guy, right? Until the real bad guy comes out, Zeus comes out, and he ends up, ripping the hair out of my head and all this other stuff, And we're the about 5 people with me, and we're the only people in the movie theater, And when Zeus does this, my daughter jumps up in my lap, starts saying, "It's okay, Daddy, it's okay." I never forget that my whole life. That's what I remember about the movie.
I only recently rewatched No Holds Barred and realized that it was you wrestling Hulk Hogan in the opening scene there. Were you at all concerned about doing that without the makeup, that people would know it was you? It's amazing that It
You
didn't
didn't
look
know?
like you somehow.
Yeah, you didn't know. I'll tell you a funny true story. No, I Barry was supposed to do it first, and I was happy because that meant they flew out one day early. They did the taping the second day and flew back the third day. That meant I was going to have 3 days off. I was happy. Well, a couple weeks later, Hogan comes to me because we had already had a series of matches in Japan, in the United States, and he just felt more comfortable with me working with him. And I said, "You clear it with Barry, it's fine. I'll do it." Now Barry's happy because he's got 1, 2, 3 days off. So we go out, we do the deal, and my parents know that the movie's coming out. When the movie came out, they went to the theater. They live in a small town south of Pittsburgh. They watched the movie, and they went through the whole movie. And I remember my mother telling me, she looked at my dad, she says, "They must have taken Bill out of the movie. He wasn't in there. I didn't see him." My dad says, "I didn't see him either." So the credits are running, and now they see Jake Bullet, Bill Eadie. So it's a small town, so they stayed in the theater and watched the second time. And then they make the announcement, Jake Bullet. Then they're looking at me and they say, "It took us 2 times to see it, to see you."
Yeah, it's so weird because when you know it's you, it's obvious, but somehow if you're
Yeah.
not expecting it, it doesn't compute.
Right.
How was the pay for that compared to your normal wrestling pay?
It was about the same. It was, the nice thing was that we took it in one take. A lot of people don't realize that. They had the building scheduled from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. They were going to do this and this and this and this. So we flew out. Hogan met me in the airport at Atlanta, and we're flying out and we're discussing the match, what we're going to do. This is what he wants to do. This is what we do, blah, 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 blah. So we landed in I think it was Topeka, went to the gym, worked out, got up the next morning. They did all that makeup and all that stuff. And they said, "Okay, we're going to do our first take." And they had planned to do this all day. So we did the match, one take. And like their jaws dropped. Well, that was perfect. And then one guy says, "Well, what do we do now?" And Hogan says, "We're done." So we had to do a couple still photos, position, holding, and this and that, and things like that. But they wanted us to have that match 4 or 5 times. We didn't need it 4 or 5 times. They took a couple sections out of it because it was like a 12 or 15-minute match that we had. And I think in the movie it was like less than 2, right? So then we're gone. Then we get back on the Hogan had to stay, but I was gone. I was out of there and home the next day.
Were they at all afraid about kayfabing the live crowd there? Because wrestling was still secret. Yeah.
I don't think they may have been, but what are you shooting a movie for, right?
Right. Because they would have known.
And I think the people probably says, "Oh, this is just a movie. This is not wrestling." In the wrestling, it's different. It's more real. This is a movie, so they have to stop and this and that.
When you look back at working with Hulk, to me, at one point there's 33 million people watching him versus Andre the Giant. I mean, he's more than mainstream. I mean, he kind of he broke through. He was a part of the fabric, he's part of the culture. What do you think about working with the Hulkster?
It was. I liked him a lot. He was really a very down to earth guy. You could just sit and talk to him, face to face, and he'd be very honest about things, and he's very real. And when he performed the wrestling, he was great. He really knows. He knows where to be, how to be, what to do. I mean, he's a true professional, and he has a lot of charisma. And it was like the first time he'd ever acted, and he did, especially for the first time, a very good job. But what he had that most people like me never have, is the kind of charisma that just, you can't take your eyes off him when he's there, because who knows why? Because he's got charisma. If I knew what charisma was, I'd be very much richer than I am.
Like when people say charisma and like the it factor, like you're right, you can't put a feeling on it. But when
No.
Hulk walks like in an airport, or he walks, in Orlando when he's on his beach up, whatever,
Yep.
you're like, that's Hulk Hogan. Like
That's right.
yeah, there's something.
Why? I don't
Yeah.
know. There's a lot of big blonde people around, but not everyone, very few of them get the kind, you're just drawn to him. You're drawn to him, like, it's a very rare thing that he has.
What did you think about him in the movie? Did you think he did well? Did you like him in the movie? What did you think overall?
I thought, I liked him. I thought he sold the character very well. I think even in later movies, his acting got better. But believe me, I've worked with a lot of first-time actors, and he was among the best first-time actors I'd worked with. And he was just, and he was a good guy.
When you are like the villain and he's the good guy, are you guys working a lot together, like off camera and stuff, or no? They like you being kind of kept separate.
Well, when the camera's not rolling, there's a lot of sitting around, and so we, when they're setting up lights, moving the camera, the things they do is just I mean, really, it can be a few hours, and we talk a lot, and he had a young family then. I mean, his kids were tiny and they were running around, and I think life was very good for him then, and I thought he was a pretty happy guy, and had a good hold on things. He he was really trying to maximize his potential, and he knew what worked, and he was very good with it. So yeah, we did spend a lot of time together, but it wasn't like wrestler villain, or it was just two people talking. When the cameras rolled, it changed a lot.
He's probably picking your brain about acting. You're probably picking his brain
Yep.
about wrestling.
Absolutely. And we didn't talk enough. There was a move. I've said it before. There's some bit where he shoves a check down my throat. And you don't, in film, you don't really shove the check down the throat. It's fake. He, coming from the world of wrestling, shoved this check down my throat, and I swallowed about half of it. And I mean, it took me about an hour to recover. I was coughing for about 4, and I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he goes, I'm sorry. That's what we do. It was like, well, remind me not to do that. So I wish we'd talked a little more that time. All right, now you listen to me. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a pussy. Shut up, you jackasses.